Welcome to episode 174 of the weekly Shared Security Show. And joining me this week is co-host Scott Wright, located in the great Canadian city of Ottawa.
Yeah.
And the InfoSec insider of violence, Kevin Johnson.
Yeah.
What? Okay, I like that one. I'm cool with it.
You know where that came from, Kevin? That was last week when you said you'd punch the next vendor in the throat who told you they had a magic box.
What I said is we all should punch next vendor.
Not just Kevin.
Yeah, I'm not the only person.
Okay, sorry. Rather than saying you would do it, everybody should do that. I think that's more incitement than anything else. So.
Hey, let's be very clear. I live in Florida. It could have been much worse.
Well, Kevin may or may not have been on stage at DEF CON with me and said something about punching developers in the throat. I don't know.
That was my twin brother. It wasn't me.
That's your other podcast.
That was a long time ago, by the way. So
yeah, that was a long time ago because you and I are old.
That's right. It's really old. So we got a lot to talk about in this episode. It has been a busy week and lots of news around. This is kind of a continuation show, I think, with the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack, because there have been some developments since last week. First was that we found out that Colonial Pipeline actually paid the $5 million ransom, which was originally reported that they didn't pay the ransom, but then it came out that they did. They also have cybersecurity insurance, which there's some research coming out saying that ransomware threat actors are now targeting companies that have cybersecurity insurance because they know they will pay the ransom. So it's almost like a guaranteed payday, which I find interesting.
I find that interesting because I find it interesting because there's an implication there that if you get ransomware, you're immediately going to call your insurance company. And I'll be very clear. My company has cyber insurance. We're required to by contract with some of our customers.
Right. And
if we got ransomware, I'm not calling my insurance company. I like just let you know right now, I'm not paying the ransom. I'm not paying it.
Right. Let everybody know. That's right. I think it's interesting. They had said that, I think their deductible, with the deductible that whatever that was still less than,
how much they paid.
Right. Yeah. So
I've heard different numbers, and I don't know which one's true, but I'll bet you that the difference is because of Bitcoin's volatility.
And it's very volatile right now. Yeah. Thanks to one billionaire that keeps tweeting things.
Bill Gates?
No, not Mr. Musk, Mr. Elon Musk.
Mr. Musk. Hey, don't make fun of Mr. Musk.
I'm not. I know. I love Elon Musk. Don't get me wrong.
Somebody I was talking to the other day called it Dogecoin. What is it?
Oh, no.
Heard that one.
Dogecoin. Yes. We could talk about that as a whole other podcast. But and then the other news related to this incident was that the ransomware attackers, the DarkSide group, really went dark, no pun intended. Right? They took off running. No one really knows what happened. A lot of speculation of why they shut down. They made a post.
I think they just saw the error of their ways.
Yeah, that's totally it.
Yeah.
They found Jesus and they moved on. So are you telling me that the title of this show is going to be Dark Web Group DarkSide Went Dark?
That's a great title. I think I'm going to do it. We'll see how that hits the SEO. But fascinating stuff that's been going on over the last couple of weeks. And then, of course, to top all that off, we've had people in our own community posting.
No, please do not refer to this idiot professor as a person in our community.
Outlier of our community. Is that better?
Yeah, I don't like gatekeeping, but damn it, I want to keep this gate. So
this was
about practices.
Yeah, it was an article about an opinion piece. I do want to clarify this. This was an opinion piece. So this was not. This is somebody's opinion.
It conspicuously didn't have any links or references in it to any real data.
No, but for the audience that hasn't read this, I recommend everyone checking this out. This article, it's called "Our Cybersecurity Industry Best Practices Keep Allowing Breaches." It's definitely a must read. Your brain will hurt afterwards, but I think you
don't read it right before any certification exams or tests of your intelligence, because it will lower your IQ by multiple points. My opinion.
So, I mean, to summarize it, he says that all the industry best practices we've had forever are basically dangerous practices. And
that you should never hire somebody who has worked at an organization that was breached.
Well, and you should fire them. The one strike and you're out rule, essentially. So I know the first part of that article was about, network administrators should be boxed in administratively. They should not be able to see what's happening on workstations, servers. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, he gets into like why principle of least privilege is
a dumb idea.
Right. So I'm interested, Kevin, Scott, I mean, you've read the article. For our audience here, what's your synopsis?
Are we starting with this?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We are starting with this.
We might not finish with anything else, but
I'll let Scott rant first, because I'm going to rant.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't rant for long periods, so you get lots of time. So,
good.
I mean, I just thought it was silly because it was clearly somebody trying to take a stand on little information, and it's just kind of like, it's good to know that there's somebody with such a practical point of view, has weighed in on this. I think it was just
but why?
Pretty clear that they have not done it for real, right? I mean, anybody who knows it's not the security guys that decide not to spend money on incident response or prevention.
Most of the time, there are cases where, just to be very clear, right?
I would, put most of the time it's a management, call it if we want to be kind, we'll call it a risk decision, to say, we think we're okay. We don't need to spend money on that stuff. And so it's not in the hands of the security guys anymore. If you've raised it to management, it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah. I actually disagree with you. And I want to be very clear that what you said makes sense. No. What you said makes sense, but I think that you made one core thing that I disagree with, and that was you referred to the article as silly. And I want, in my opinion, that's a bad statement. And the reason I think it's a bad statement is I believe this article actively hurts security and best practices. And the reason it hurts it is the article is presented as, I am a tenured professor with business experience. I am guiding the next generation of business leaders, and we need them to know that everything they've heard about security is wrong and bad. And the problem with that is, and I have actually interacted with the author on LinkedIn and Twitter, been blocked by friends of his.
Recently?
Yesterday.
Okay.
Because I wrote back and said, look, this is wrong. And I like, my issue with this is it's fundamentally wrong. It is fundamentally dangerous recommendations, and it is fundamentally idiotic.
Okay. I have a question for you then, Kevin.
Okay.
So I understand why you're saying it's more dangerous than silly in a theoretical way, but who is actually going to believe what the guy says? And you think so?
Yes.
Wow.
And here's why I say lots. We run into organizations regularly where management is looking for a reason not to do the expense. We all know security has no ROI. No organization is in business to be secure. And so now we have an article on a respected news source. I mean, like, my understanding is The Hill. I don't know a lot about them, but is that they're a respected news source. And there are executives who are reading that with no context. And they will then go back to their organization and say, look, The developers need this. There are development teams that are saying, we need administrative rights. We need to do this and we need to do that. And instead of saying, okay, why? What can we do to help you accomplish what you need to do? What we're going to be told is a professor at an established organization is saying this is the right thing to do. And Alan, I think is his name, claims on LinkedIn and Twitter that he just wanted to start a conversation. And it's like, okay, but that's not the way to start a conversation. The way to start a conversation is to present something and then discuss it. He presented something and then went on the defensive for every single person who asked him questions.
Yeah.
Every place he could have this supposed discussion that he claims was the purpose of the article, he has shot down. His answer to me was, well, you're attacking people. And it's like, okay, well, I did call your article idiotic, but I don't believe I really don't believe I've attacked
you weren't attacking
anybody,
no.
Right? I can understand my statements were, I don't even think they were exaggerated, but there is no conversation. That's why I say it's dangerous, is because those groups.
I understand that. I just don't think it's significantly dangerous. I mean, I can think of a lot more dangerous articles that could have been made.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will agree.
Somebody writing about how phishing assessments that trick people unfairly are really a good way to do.
Yeah. I don't believe this is going to have a significant impact outside, but I do believe that we as an industry need to make it clear that we're welcome to any ideas, but let's actually talk about them.
Yeah, they have to be rational, right? And from experience, it's better than speculating, right? So.
Yes, yeah. And I will say that he has actually changed my mind. I never believed the saying, those who can do and those who can't teach. But I believe that Alan has proven emphatically that he fits that stereotype.
Oh, you got that off one of the comments.
I made that comment multiple times on Twitter. So, yes, I got it off a comment. Mine.
For the record, Kevin has a great track record of being blocked on Twitter by multiple people. And
the worst part is I'm okay getting blocked. If I just come piss in your Wheaties and you block me, that's fine. But the sheer number of times I'm blocked when I ask a serious question, like, "Hey, why did you do it that way?" Or
blocked.
I don't get why anybody blocks somebody just because they ask a question, right? I mean,
I get blocked all the time for asking questions.
Cancel culture. They're gonna cancel you out, Kevin.
No. Oh God.
Trigger.
Like cancel culture, please.
I love these trigger words for Kevin. They're great.
I get blocked quite a bit. I find it funny, and I don't track it. The only way I find out I got blocked is I go back to respond to I get the notification in email that says like, "Hey, somebody has replied to you," and I okay, and I go to Twitter because I don't click the link in the email. Scott taught me that, and by Click Armor, but so I go to Twitter and I can't see the response. It's like, what the heck? And then I find out, I can't see that person anymore. And I would like to believe that they just destroyed their Twitter account. No, they blocked me.
I find it interesting too that in the thread on LinkedIn with Raf and Raf Los, we've had on the show before. He has the Down the Rabbit Hole security podcast. He even offered to have him on the show.
Yeah.
To debate the article. And he said,
no interest.
And that's actually disappointing. Like you post something like that, you should be able to want to debate that with people.
But see, I honestly think what happened here is he put something out based on what he believed, that he thought, hey, this is a good solution here. But he didn't actually look into it. He never actually considered what he wrote. And then when he got this immediate reaction from so many people, I personally believe that he looked back at it and went, oh, maybe I'm not right. And then doubled down on defending it.
Double down. That's right, man.
Yeah, there is kind of I won't say a retraction, but there's an editor's note. If you go to the latest version of that article, in all in italics.
The editor's note doesn't even reflect what he said.
No.
It said It says something about fire the security leadership, but that's not what he actually says.
No, that's not what he says. Yeah, he's like trying to rephrase what he said or something. And
let's rewrite history when it's actually documented above.
Yeah, I mean, he actually said that if there are a security person that was in a company that was breached, you should never hire them, like ever.
Which means that
like how many companies are breached every day? I mean, almost every company has had a breach.
Yeah. And what happens if you hire them and then find out that the company they were with was hacked and they didn't know it? Now, do you fire them then? Yeah. It's nuts.
I just
totally nuts.
Part of your employment contract. If we ever discover you were.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it out there right now. If you believe not to hire people that have worked at organizations that have been breached, don't hire Secure Ideas. And I'm assuming that Scott and Tom
or ClickArmor
say the same thing about
exactly.
Right? Because we've all worked at organizations that were breached. Heck, Secure Ideas announced that our training site had gotten popped. Right?
Yeah.
So, don't hire us then.
Yeah.
And don't pay ransoms.
Spring and summer are upon us, and that means it's time for some much needed vacation time with friends and family. But this also means that you need to be aware of data privacy and how to protect your laptops, smartphones, and key fobs while traveling. Airports and other public areas can often be targeted by attackers looking to gain access to your devices through their wireless signals. So instead of worrying about disabling or turning off wireless functions, it's so much easier to place them in a Faraday bag when they're not being used. And if you want the best protection that you can get, you want to be using Silent Pocket's premium Faraday bag product line that blocks all wireless signals. So don't forget to get yourself a Faraday bag before you head out on your vacation. And right now, you can use discount code SharedSecurity and receive 10% off your order during checkout at silentpocket.com.
Is your team starting to show signs of fatigue from traditional security awareness compliance training, or from phishing assessments that target them for those teachable moments? As we've seen in recent news, these kinds of training are having a negative impact on corporate culture, and they're really not all that effective. So there has to be a better way. ClickArmor is the first gamified learning platform that helps build a self-defending team through engaging learning challenges and exercises. Its unique lesson templates, built with proven gamification techniques, let people learn and exercise important defensive concepts in a safe and fun environment. Whether you need to quickly deploy a training solution that gets people to stop clicking on things immediately, or you've got your own boring content that needs to be put into a more interesting user experience, ClickArmor can help. So go to clickarmor.ca/sharedsecurity to learn how to build a self-defending team.
Yeah, I guess that is a good, maybe we can end the podcast with that. It's talking about, I mean, companies are in a bind here, right? I mean, a lot of times they just pay the ransom, as we've seen in a lot of these stories, because they're left with no other choice, or it's just the gut reaction of, oh, I got cybersecurity insurance. It's probably going to be cheaper. I just pay the ransom. But there was also talk about governments now, and they're talking about laws. I know in the United States they are, probably Canada and everywhere else, that are going to prohibit companies from paying the ransom because they know that this fuels the ransomware economy. What's your thoughts on that?
I will point out that murder and cocaine are both illegal and are used or happen all the time. I'm not a big fan of laws. You know that. I'm not an anarchist, but I believe that passing a law is not how you solve this. I think, though, with this particular thing, it's even worse. And there's a couple reasons for it. One, it's a law you can't actually enforce. And passing laws that you can't enforce it undermines the entire legal system to do that. And two, all that it will do is, in my opinion, and I'm an idiot. We all know that. And I'm sure the professor from the previous conversation will acknowledge that. In my opinion, all that it will do is cause the ransomware people to target the organizations and industries that, even with it illegal, have no choice, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to go to the most vulnerable, right? we talk about, oh my God, protect the children. Hospitals are going to be attacked then, because pay the ransom, not pay the ransom being legal, the hospital needs to be up and running. And what happens when the school system gets hacked? What happens when the 911 system gets ransomware? All of these are real world examples. You can't pay the ransom, and we haven't given you the money to actually have backups that work, and we don't have support to actually manage this. Ta-da! Fix the problem. Right? I think it's a horrible, horrible idea. It's not quite backdoor encryption bad, but it's pretty dang close.
Just call Glenn instead.
I'm sorry?
Call Glenn if you get ransomware.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a bad idea. I don't like people paying ransoms. I agree with the idea.
Yeah.
My understanding, my experience has been people who pay ransoms most of the time don't get working decryption keys, or they just pay the ransom.
Yeah.
In many cases, they get asked for more money.
Yeah.
Especially with the modern ransomware, where it's really these organizations are stealing the data, then creating the ransomware, like the encrypted, to hide the fact they stole the data, and then right, you're just opening the door. But I also recognize it's a business decision, right? And I know that what I just said parroted the Biden administration, and I can't believe I'm parroting the Biden administration. But
yeah, so there's the double dipping, and now there's triple dipping, right?
Yeah.
So they're going after the customers of the ransomware victim, because they've stolen the data. They know who the customers are.
Yeah.
They say, hey, you know what? They're not paying, but maybe you will.
Yeah, it's all around. It's a bad thing. I think we need to just. I don't know the solution. Like I said, I'm not smart enough to know the solution.
It's a tough problem.
Yeah, it is. Well, and the biggest problem, I've said it multiple times before, and so far nobody has shown me the error of my ways. But the reality is, we train people to click links. We build business processes that deploy systems that are insecure and encourage insecure behaviors, and then we are shocked when the organization gets hit.
So I have a question for you guys. So you, not being the least technical of the three of us, I have to ask the question that a lot of people probably wonder at one time or other, and that is, we know there's no 100% security solution. Security is hard, but isn't there possibly a way of having whitelisted, systems fairly easily to say, ransomware wants to run, don't let anything run that I haven't authorized? Like, why is there not more
zero trust networks?
Yeah. I can't say there's an easy way to do that. Yes, that exists. Yes, it is possible. But let me ask you a question. On your laptop right now, what software is installed? Right? I don't need you to give me a list, but do you know a list of all the software that's installed on your machine?
I can probably find it in the app folder.
Okay. So what about the libraries, those applications installed for the application to run, right? And what exactly do you need to have whitelisted to apply patches? And what do you have to, right? And now let's take that and scale it to an organization of 20,000 people that all have different roles.
I understand what you're saying. I think that's a different kind of a vector though, right? Getting in through included code or
no.
Stack,
I'm saying I'm not talking about that. You're absolutely right. That is a different vector. What I'm talking about is, as an organizational person, if you're responsible for the security, how do you generate the whitelist for each and every machine and server and whatever?
Right.
That effectively prevents that, right? And that's where I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying your idea is dumb, because it's not.
I was just asking, like, what are the reasons that we don't have better whitelisting right now?
Right. That's one of the reasons. The other reason I've found is that when you do whitelisting, I worked at Blue Cross when we rolled out, was it Okta, and became CSA, the security, no, it wasn't Okta. It was a piece of software that ran on the endpoint, and it whitelisted what was allowed to run, right? And Blue Cross of Florida rolled it out and deployed it to every workstation. And I think it took about a week before they turned off enforce mode because of the sheer number of business processes it broke.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
The reality was it broke stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
The other possibility I was thinking, if it's not a whitelisting problem, it could still be, a real vulnerability problem in most apps or OSs, where if they find a backdoor or a vulnerability that they can exploit, then they'll do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not to be defeatist, but as a penetration tester, right, our job is to look at the controls you put in place and figure out ways around them. I think the only solution, and I hope you heard the italics and quotes around that, right? But the only real solution is to accept the fact it's going to happen and proactively prepare for it. Understand your business continuity, understand how you can restore to functionality as rapidly as possible.
One more part to that, though. It's not just about restoring, right? If they're stealing the data before they encrypt,
absolutely.
What do you do to prevent that?
Yeah, we start looking at, I mean, there's a million things we can parrot really fun words like egress filtering and extrusion detection and stuff like that. I believe that last one was trademarked by Fish Taste. But there's lots of things we can do. It all depends on the organization and the system, right? And I hate giving answers like that, but that really is it. It depends.
Well, that's what I wanted to uncover today. So that's great.
Excellent. Well, what a great discussion. This will definitely continue, I'm sure. Maybe not into subsequent episodes after this one, but we'll keep the conversation going. I mean, we all know security is hard, right?
It is.
And we have great job security because this is not getting any better. Any way you look at it.
I disagree. I think it's getting better. I think we have more ability to affect things. I think also that information security people, by and large, recognize the fact that we can't have perfect security, so we have to help the business accomplish
through best practices or something.
Right. Yeah. Best practices, exactly. The good ones. And
real. That's right.
I think it's getting better. But
best practices. Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, with that, great speaking with both of you again this week.
Thanks, Tom.
Everyone,
thanks
for
everybody
listening, and we will talk to you all next week. That's all for this week's show. Be sure to follow the Shared Security Show on Twitter and Instagram for the latest news and show updates. If you like this episode, please hit that like and subscribe button, and please subscribe to us on your favorite podcast listening app. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for another episode of the Shared Security Show.